Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. In honor of Women's History Month, we're conducting a series of podcast sessions with individual NIITians to discuss their experiences and their opinions on this topic. I'm Michelle Tucker, your host for this session. Today, I am so pleased to welcome our CEO, Sapnesh Lalla. Hi, Sapnesh. So glad you could join us.
Hey, Michelle. Great to be with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. We'll jump right into the questions. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what you have to say on this topic.
Sure, absolutely.
Great. Okay, so question one, during your journey, starting as a content developer, all the way up to the CEO role, were you mentored or advised by women in the industry? And if so, what was that experience like?
Well, Michelle, more than just my working career or my career at NIIT, I think many women have played a key role in my life. My early stage, my grandmom and my mother played a pivotal role, I think. Both of them were really, really strong women, tough as nails, but could be loving as they can be when they wanted to. And I mean, there were times that they could melt you with a look, and there were times when they could get you to freeze in your tracks with a look. So great growing up with them, and I really looked up to both of them. Over the course of my career at NIIT, I've had the opportunity to get advice and counsel from a number of women while at work, as well as in the board meetings. A lot of unique experiences that they shared. And I've always found the perspectives that I got from them very different and often very interesting and at times contrary to what I would have thought when I was looking at problems. Specifically, they helped me look at people from a more human angle rather than a more rational angle. They helped me become more comfortable with people issues. I was amazed at what several of them could achieve with just a smile or just being calm and reassuring. And so ended up learning a lot. They helped me understand how you could be tough without being tough, and loving and not be seen as weak. So many very interesting experiences and learnings from the women who advised me or counseled me or I met during my work life at NIIT.
That's excellent. And I can certainly relate. I had a grandmother also that could get me to freeze or melt with a look. Very relatable. Absolutely.
I guess they get paid to do that.
How did they learn that? Is it just, I guess maybe I'll learn that trick someday. Question two, during your career, how have you seen the work environment change for women?
I have indeed seen it change quite a bit. For me, NIIT has been is my second job. I started working with a company in India at the beginning of my career. I spent about 5 years there. And when I moved to NIIT, I found in NIIT an organization that was significantly more diverse, much younger, and very in tune with gender equality. And this was many years ago, almost 30 years ago. And at that time, NIIT was and continues to be an organization that believes to its core in gender equality. So I think early on, I saw an organization that was significantly less diverse. And when I moved to NIIT, I saw the differences and the benefits and how important it was to take equality to heart. I think what I've noticed is that at the end of the day, it is critically important to realize that equality is a necessity, whether it is gender equality or it is equality of or tolerance of different cultures. I think that is a necessity. It is not a requirement or is not a nice to have. It is a necessity. And the sooner we recognize it as a necessity, the farther we go. And I think across the board, there is work to be done. But I think in NIIT, I saw an organization who had very early recognized that necessity.
Absolutely. Question 3, as the CEO of a global company, you're exposed to many different cultural norms and attitudes about women in the work environment. Can you speak to that often challenging dynamic and how you lead through it?
Sure, I have met with people and I've had meetings, professional meetings across many different countries, many different cultures, and I found it interesting that different cultures have a different way of intermingling with women. There are some cultures where I experienced a very, very conservative point of view in terms of working with women. And there were cultures which were very, very liberal. I think in the United States, we are somewhere in the middle. In India, sometimes we tend to be more on the conservative side. But I think as I started to study the nuances, whether there were traditions, whether they were religious, sometimes I would find, the root of what a tradition or a religious nuance was based on was something that's not actually relevant to us anymore.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, and this is just, I guess, true of people, it's hard for people to change.
Yes.
And I think that inability to lead or to change one's beliefs is what causes inequality to live longer than it has to. Yeah. And I think again, I might end up repeating this several times. It's critically important for us to recognize the necessity for equality. And while sometimes culture or religion or just the way people have done things all their lives holds them back, but the sooner we recognize it, I think the better it is for us. And I think as leaders, it's important for us to enable acceleration of that change.
Yes, absolutely. Self-awareness is key with change management.
True, and you have to do it yourself the first time. We have to make ourselves the examples of the change first.
Yeah, and it is hard. It's if we knew how to unlock that easily, oh boy, we'd be in a different business because everyone would be bottling and selling it. Let's see here. Well, what programs and strategic initiatives have been launched by NIIT to encourage progress on women's and gender equality?
I think, there is a document that guides us, and that we call that our vision statement. It's the memorialization of our values, beliefs, and things that we hold dear to ourselves. It's sort of what defines our culture. And I think in that vision document, we really enshrine that we have that NIIT is people and that we have positive regard for each one of us. And I think that's the most fundamental truth about NIIT's diversity, equality, and inclusion related initiatives. And then, with that as foundation, we built a number of initiatives. Most important, I think, is the recognition of the fact that the growth of NIIT is the derivative of growth of each one of us. And I think that fundamental desire to grow and to be inclusive informs all our policy making, whether it is to do with safety of women, or it is to do with wellness, or it's the recognition that different genders have different needs from a health perspective. or it is to do with pay equality. I think the bedrock is the recognition that uh, NIIT's people, and we have positive regard for each one of us. And that shows up in almost everything that we do. For example, in India, we run a cab service which picks up and drops off people from their homes, because often several NIITians have to work at odd hours to service customers in the United States and Europe. And one of the things that we implemented was to ensure that if the first person getting into the cab or the last person getting off the cab was a woman, we would have what you might call equivalent of a marshal who's accompanying them, so that we make sure that nothing untoward was going to happen while she was being picked up or dropped off. So a bunch of such initiatives have been, put in place predominantly based on the bedrock of having positive regard for each one of us and recognizing that different folks have different needs.
Yes. I mean, as a human resources manager, I can certainly relate to that. We're all humans at our core, and we're very different, and we have different needs. And the sooner we start realizing that, the better.
Absolutely. I mean, painting everybody with the same brush is the worst thing that we could do. And the sooner we start seeing the beauty and diversity, the better it is for all of us.
What can men do to best support and advocate for women and gender equality?
That's a big question. But
it's not a gotcha question, I promise.
But I think the first and probably the most important thing to do is to recognize that equality is a necessity. I know I'm sounding like a broken record on this, but I think that recognition is what is critical, and recognizing that without equality, there isn't a way forward. And also recognizing that we are not quite there yet. And so we have to do many things to get there. But that recognition that it is a necessity is what I think everyone should accomplish immediately.
Yeah, it's a fundamental, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Who is a woman who has inspired you personally or professionally, and why?
Many have, many have. But I think most recently, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and I'm sure if I try to pronounce her name, I'll screw it up. But I think she has just been fascinating as a leader. Yes. And I think what I've admired most about her way of leadership is that she has not compromised being a woman. She has done everything that she as a woman would want to do, but has been able to lead in what you could call politics as a man's world from a traditional perspective. And I think that's what I found amazing.
Yes.
And inspiring.
Yeah, she led during COVID times, which was, I mean, tremendous. And I think that their incidents of, they kept the country locked down very safely, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that very inspiring woman. I have to read more about her. As we consider the future of work, what can organizations like NIIT do to continue to best support positive change for women and gender equality overall?
I think accelerating the recognition of the necessity of equality. I think that, I mean, it's a mouthful, but I think the sooner we recognize, the sooner we act, the better it is for all of us. I mean, women offer massive potential. There are things that they bring from a point of view that's very different, and that is very encouraging and helps organizations grow and move forward. So the sooner we recognize, the sooner we accelerate, the sooner we change, I think the better it is for all of us. The one person and his sayings that have inspired me a lot, and I remember one now. I may misquote it because this is ex-memory, but I think I remember one that goes something like this: that no two leaves are alike, and yet there is no antagonism between them or between the branches on which they grow. I think it's really beautifully said that,
Yes.
nature has made different beings different, but there isn't real need for any antagonism between the two. And I think that's really beautiful, and it should inform us on how we live as different folks, but together with similar purpose and similar desire to grow and, different aspirations.
Absolutely. As humans, we can take a cue from nature in that sense. It's beautifully said. Beautiful quote.
True.
That's all the questions that I have. We're about out of time, but thank you so much for your time and for being here and for putting thought into these answers. I know that it will mean a lot to our listeners. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening and being here with us. And we are looking forward to the next session. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sapnesh.
Take care.